Greetings everyone, welcome back to Blade Bias. I just got back from a little bit of a weekend trip to visit some friends, and I actually didn't bring the Bxndxge Knives stitch with me. And ever since I got home, it's been a little easier to flip than it was in the initial video, which I am really curious about. I'm really interested to see where this thing ends up in the final follow-up video. And I also did just receive some news that is pretty exciting for me, which I'll share in the follow-up video for this, but it means that I will be able to crack it open and hopefully mess with the weights a little bit. But I'm seeing, as I'm about to talk about a new Balisong, I'm going to flip something just a little bit more standard while I introduce you to the thing that this video is actually about, because you're not here to talk about the stitch. We're here to check out this bad boy. It's actually my first time seeing it in person. Look at that. And is this? It is a machined dull blade. Look at that. This is the Bxndxge Knives Gauze. I do enjoy the sort of bandage theme going on. A stitch isn't exactly a bandage, but you know, it's something that you use to close up a wound. And so is gauze. This Bxndxge did give me a few of the specs that I will now be passing along to you, as well as kind of the idea behind this Balisong, because I think that is important going into the unboxing of this here. The Gauze is Bxndxge's attempt at a budget aluminum and channel Balisong. It's the shortest and also the heaviest Balisong he's ever made, coming in at 4.0 ounces, made out of 70-75 aluminum and VG10 steel. This, I think, is going to be pretty interesting. A more budget-oriented, shorter. Bxndxge even said that he was going for more of a competitive style flipper rather than the kind of interesting engineering and balance points of his previous knives in things like the stitch. And I think that's always interesting to see a titanium Balisong maker primarily step into aluminum, just as it's interesting to see like a primarily plastic maker like Zippy step into the world of metal Balisongs or metal live blades. So I'm actually pretty excited to check this thing out. Unfortunately, of all the things that were provided to me, the price was not one of those. The only thing I know is that this is a more budget attempt at a Balisong. So we'll see what the ultimate price ends up being. If that's something that Bxndxge wants to share, it'll be in the comments, or maybe it'll be in the follow-up video on this thing. This is also a pass around. I want to thank Bxndxge for sending this thing out, but I will be sending this to the next person when I'm finished checking it out. So I think that about does it for everything that we need as a primer into the gauze. But so far we have interesting jimping here. I'm going to have to try and remember to get some ladders in on this. We're maintaining the kind of X profile that you see on his other knives like the Stitch, which I do enjoy. And we're seeing a concave handle structure on a more blocky handle. This is the opposite of what I normally like to see on Balisongs. I like to see, you know, maybe more flat sides with the faces bowing out a little bit to help with fans and things like that. But Bxndxge says that it helps with the grip and being able to, you know, really give it the beans in any sort of position you might be in. That's could have been worded better, but you know, and we have this beautiful blade. I actually really do like the look of this thing. It's minimalistic, yet good. I am immediately a little bit concerned about end weight here. This is something we've talked about plenty of times on the channel, that easy little pivot that you can add to a channel aluminum Balisong just to make it carry a little bit more momentum. And I'm not seeing the huge amount of aluminum that you typically see on something like a wing or something that doesn't have pivots there. Although I've been proven wrong in the past, so I'm not terribly worried about it. This speed channel will certainly help to push that distribution further out towards the end of the handles. But let's give this thing a flip, shall we? I'm interested to see how this works. Okay. Actually, incredibly impressed with the first few seconds of flipping here. I think already I can tell that this is maybe a little bit more neutral than a lot of typical performance Balisong lovers or competitive Balisong lovers will like. I know I was just flipping my Kraken, which I set over here. You have something like the Kraken, which is known for its consistency, for its competitiveness, if you will, for its ability to remain consistent and predictable. And, you know, it's something that has a little bit of handle bias to it. It's something that I love about my cheese is the consistency and the predictability of it. This does not seem to have that same level of handle bias. I would almost describe this as more neutral. Not as going into the blade bias, blade heavy feeling that I was feeling on the Stitch in the initial video. This really does feel like something that can still, actually, let's give it a test here. It actually chaplains remarkably well. Wow. Okay. So this is a balance where you're going to get good performance out of your chaplains. Maybe not the greatest performance because it doesn't have a huge amount of handle bias that I'm finding, but very performant chaplains and very flat fans. This thing fans, to me, incredibly. So I think while some of the more competitive focused flippers who like that little bit of handle bias might be slightly disappointed by this, someone who likes a little bit more fan ability in their Balisongs like me, I actually love the way that this thing flips. There is not, so far, I will still spend a ton of time with this and, you know, refine my opinions for the follow-up video. But so far, I'm actually very, very impressed. I'm not noticing the concave nature of the faces of the handles as much as I was really thinking that I was going to. It still choker fans fine. The geometry of the handles feels good to me. There is a little bit to get used to, putting your hand on what you expect to be the face and feeling it go in rather than stick out a little bit. But it's nothing that is throwing me off of my game by any means. Chaplains are good, fans are good, choker fans are good. I'm actually really, really impressed with this thing. It will fight you a little bit if you get into fans the wrong way, as it just did for me, because of that more neutral nature. Fans starting and stopping maybe isn't the best thing ever, but nowhere near the level that I was feeling on my initial video on the Stitch. This is lightweight. It's responsive. I think this might be a slam dunk for a lot of people. I, for one, even if it isn't a slam dunk for, you know, more competitive flippers, I am very, very impressed with what I'm flipping right now. This is great. Any Balisong that can fan like that, keep its momentum going really, really well all throughout the fan and the choker fan, that I almost have to force to stop, but I don't have to force to get it going, while also maintaining the ability to chaplain and to 0G, that is a Balisong that I'm really going to enjoy. It sticks on your fingers. At least it's sticking on my fingers fairly well for these more handle bias tricks, but it still feels good to chaplain and roll over. And man, for me personally, I can't really say that I'm noticing a huge amount of issues with the lack of, I shouldn't say with the lack, but with a lack of momentum in the end of the handles. Now, Bxndxge did describe this as more end-weighted, that the weight was pushed more towards the end of the handles. And while I think it is due to the nature of the rest of the handles being so light, especially with the speed channel, it's definitely not feeling like that. Like, I'm not feeling a crazy hot spot in the end of the handles where you normally would feel a little bit of a hot spot from a pivot or from a huge amount of aluminum. And that is going to be either a benefit or a downside, depending on if you enjoy or dislike some of those things, obviously. But I'm actually very, very interested to check this thing out for the remainder of the time that I have it, because I think there is real potential here for this to have kind of the consistency that I look for in the Kraken, but still fan and choker fan the way that I really want it to. Which, there's only a handful of Balisongs I can think of. Top of that list being the Seraph. And obviously I'm not comparing this thing to the Seraph in any way, but there's only a handful of Balisongs that kind of check that fans and choker fans well, but still does rollover tricks fairly well. Only a handful of Balisongs check that box for me, because even the more consistent ones that I've tried, like the Kraken Trainer, don't fan or choker fan the best to how I typically like to do them. Like, they work amazingly, but they don't feel as good as they could. The Cheese is actually a Balisong that I love for that reason. Let me actually break the Cheese out here. And it's not here. Oh, it's in my bag. Whatever, it's okay. But the Cheese is one of those Balisongs that I love to fan and choker fan, but it still kind of has that handle bias nature to it. This is really good. I think this is ultimately going to be a Balisong that really comes down to your preferences with handle design, because I know some people are probably not going to like this concave nature, and price. I'm very, very interested to see where the official price on this lands, or even where Bxndxge is leaning. Unfortunately, in the write-up that he gave me, he didn't provide that, so we'll see where that ends up, hopefully by the follow-up video. But as for this first impressions, very impressed. Actually, really impressed. I like how this flips a lot so far. One small nitpick, the finishing is a little bit weird. This is something that Bxndxge said he was still working on, because this is his first aluminum knife and everything. But this almost feels like titanium. It's kind of sticky in like a titanium-ish way. I don't know if it's because it's raw aluminum and that's just kind of it oxidizing, or what the deal is, but it is like kind of titanium sticky. Maybe it's just dirty. It kind of also feels like some Balisongs do at Blade Show. Actually, that's what it feels like. It feels like a titanium Balisong that just went through Blade Show and is just kind of like dirty, which I don't think is an awful thing, but it's certainly not the most pleasant thing. But like I said, Bxndxge said he was still working on that, so the jimping is good, but not... I'd say it's above average. It grips into my fingers enough that it does something, but it's not so grippy that it feels like I can let go a little bit. There are some Balisongs, specifically the first one that comes to mind is like the Baikal, where I can almost kind of let go a little bit with my fingers on the ladders, because that jimping is just so grippy, and I kind of love that about it, because I'm not great at ladders. This, I think, is a healthy medium where it's still gripping enough for the people that need that, but it's not so grippy that it like digs in and creates a problem for the people that don't need that. Considering that it's like a new design that we haven't really seen before, I mean, I, for one, can't think of too many other Balisongs, if any, that use an X pattern for their jimping. I think it's quite successful. I'm enjoying laddering that quite a bit. But this is all just first impressions. We will see how my time continues with the Gauze. I hope I haven't called this thing the Stitch too much. We'll see how my time ends up going with the Gauze, and I will relay that all to you in a follow-up video. So far, super impressed. Keep your eye on this thing. Definitely. But for now, I think that's going to do it. One more huge thank you to One more huge thank you to Bxndxge for sending this thing out, for pass around, sending it to me so I can check it out before it gets sent on to the next person. I really do appreciate it. And I've really been enjoying what Bxndxge has been putting out, including this. So we'll see how it goes with the follow-up video. For now, though, I'm going to clock out for the day, and I will see you all in the next one. Later.